Hey guys, my name is Melissa Nash. I am your investment coach here at Norada. I appreciate you reaching out to us. You're probably contacted us because you're interested in investing in turnkey properties outside of your own market, or maybe you don't have the time, the desire, or the know how to do this kind of business. So you're on your own and you're thinking about going the turnkey route because it's amazing and the systems we have can help you do all of the above. This video is designed to give you the real estate basics as to who Norada Real Estate is and what you can get from it. Now, I know that you have a lot of questions, and I think we're going to cover just about every single one of them in this video. Make sure that you write down any questions as we go so that we can talk and really get into the specifics of what you're trying to do. That's literally the reason why I did this video, because I found that I was having the same conversations over and over with investors answering these types of questions. So if we're prepared on the front end and I can answer all these basic questions for you, then when we do spend time on the phone, we can really focus and get to your specific goals instead of trying to, cover all this basic stuff. So this is a quick way to cover it. So stick with me. I know this is going to be a little bit long. I'm going to go as quickly as I possibly can, but I'm really trying to be as thorough as I can, again, so that we can really just focus when we get on the call together. Okay. So in this video, we're going to talk about the history of Norada. Then we're going to talk about selecting a market and what my role is with you in that. The kinds of things that you should be thinking about as an investor. We're going to be talking about neighborhoods, what type of neighborhoods you should look at, what type of neighborhoods you should be concerned about. We're going to talk about the teams and the partners that we work with. What are some of the common roadblocks that people run into? That's a really important one. We talk about financing. We talk about property management. All those things. I'm sure you have questions, a lot of them. So thanks again for joining me. Okay, so this presentation and your relationship with me here at Norada is for educational and referral purposes only. We're going to teach you about real estate investing. We're going to refer you to some people that are going to help you along the way, making everything a little bit easier. I am not your real estate agent. I don't have an agent relationship with you. I'm going to explain how we do work with you, but just to reiterate, we are here for educational purposes and referral purposes only. Okay, let's get to what you came here for. I like to ask all my investors a really important question, and I do think that you need to think about, why do you want to invest in real estate? What does that mean to you? The answer is different for everyone, but your answer is going to help you as you're building your portfolio. Always remember your why. Now, for some people, they want to create a cash flow so that they can retire early. Some people want to create extra cash flow to spend it doing the things that they love, maybe being with their family, maybe traveling. Some people just want to do it for the future. Maybe not today, but we're planning a little bit ahead. Real estate portfolio investing is always about the future. We're not just investing for 1 year. This is not short-term investing. This is long-term investing. Okay. So, Norada. Just a little bit about a background about Norada. We've been in business for about 20 years now. Marco, the owner of Norada, started this company, and he really was the pioneer of turnkey investments. He started the company out of frustration because of the lack of cash flow in his market where he lives, which is California. Just like most investors in California are a little bit frustrated right now. He went in search of other markets outside of California that made more sense, that actually cash flowed. Soon Marco found a way to start buying in markets outside of California, and then everyone started to, hey, how are you doing this? And coming up to him, asking him questions about it. Now Norada was born. Okay, Norada is essentially a California real estate brokerage. Most of our team is actually based here out of California. The funny thing is, most of us do not own any investment properties here in California. As you know, it's not the best place to invest for cash flow. I love living here, but I know that I can live anywhere I want, invest where it makes sense. And that's what's so cool about what we provide here at Norada. Basically, all of our systems are in place so that you can do this. Now, how to answer how we work. We spend a lot of time researching the markets throughout the US. We look into a lot of different factors that we'll touch on a little bit later, but we're always analyzing the market. When we determine that a market is a good investment market, we go to that market and we build our team there. So we have local boots on the ground or local partners in these different markets across the country. We call them local market providers. So if you hear me use that term provider, that's where it's coming from. These are the teams that we have decided to partner with because of our relationship building. Some of them we've worked with for, over 10 years. These are the people that go to the foreclosure auctions. They buy up short sales, bank foreclosures, you name it. They pick up the properties from wholesalers, a lot of different means. Most of the time, these properties are pretty beat up. So they'll go in there and they'll put together a scope of work, what they want to do to fix it up. And then they're going to rehab the property. And then we also have local property management that is set up, local in that market, that is working with the rehab team directly so that we have all the numbers ahead of time. We know exactly what the property is going to rent for when it's done. And the property manager is telling us, hey, this needs to be done to be rented in the area. Okay. So when the property is done being rehabbed, the property managers that are local take over. They screen the tenants, they market the property, they screen the tenants, they place them, they get them into the property, and then they collect the rents. These providers that we work with are heavily vetted. We know them. We walk their properties. We see their inspection reports. I joke around that I literally see inspection reports in my sleep. And once you've seen enough of them in one market from one team, you get a sense of the quality of work that they're doing, and we have a confidence in that. Okay. These are trusted partners that we've worked with over the years. We need them and they need us. We don't want to be the ones to go out there, find the property, hire the contractors, do the permits, pull the background checks, all that kind of stuff. We don't want to do. We want to focus on what we do best, which is education and working with our clients to grow their portfolios. So that's why you contacted us, because we have these amazing teams in these different parts of the country and various markets. We have great relationships with them, and we also hold them accountable for the type of work that we're requiring. Okay. As soon as the property is finished, they give us the inventory per our agreement with our providers. And now that inventory is available for our Norada investors. This inventory is not on the market. It does not go on the MLS. This is inventory just for you. So how do you access the inventory? You get it through me. We do put some of the inventory on our website. Not everything is on there. I do have a separate Google Drive that I keep for updated inventory. That's a great place to start, though. It's probably how you found us. Okay, I'll dive into that and talk about it a little bit more later. But once you have your pre-approval letter from the recommended lenders that we'll be able to give you, this will then open up more inventory for you that we have for our now investors. So that's why some of the inventory on the website isn't 100% up to date. It's updated enough, but when you're ready to invest and you say, hey, Melissa, help me now, then I'm going to give you access to even more inventory. Okay. Things to note. We're really easy to work with. The prices are set. You either like the numbers or you don't. So anytime I give you a pro forma with the numbers on it, all those numbers are calculated as correctly as they possibly can be, and you either like it or you don't, and you keep on looking or you want it. Inventory is based on a first come, first serve basis. Some of our markets have more limited inventory, but overall inventory does move pretty quickly. It's always a hot real estate market, whether we're in a recession, a bubble, growth. The numbers are the numbers. The math is the math. Investors always want to invest, and especially when investors are pulling out of the stock market, which they have been, they want to invest and put their money somewhere. So it's always a hot real estate market for investors. Okay. The little guys disappear, but the real true investors that know what they're doing, they don't go away. They stick around. So my role is to help you with the education side so that we can quickly analyze a property and start building your portfolio. so you can grab up the good properties before they're gone. Okay. Now, one last thing people always ask us is, do we pay Norada anything? And the answer is no. When you buy your investment property with us, after closing, that provider that we have partnered with is going to pay Norada a real estate referral fee. That goes to our brokerage here in California, and we get a referral fee. That's it. That's how we get paid. The money does not come from you. You're not going to get an invoice from us. The only fee that you're ever going to see from us is at closing. There's going to be a small, I think it's about a $250 fee that goes directly to our transaction coordinator at closing. That money actually doesn't even come to us at all. It goes right to them. It's for paying them to help us with everything that has to take place during the closing, getting the contracts, getting them over to the lender, working with the lender, ordering the appraisal, ordering the inspections, all that kind of stuff, invoicing. It all takes a little bit of planning and a little bit of work. So we do have to pay somebody for that. That's it. That's the only thing you're going to see. Okay. You are buying a newly rehabbed property and you don't have to pay anybody commissions. The only costs that are above and beyond the price of the property would be your closing costs with the title company, the inspection fee, which we highly recommend you get an inspection, the appraiser, which your lender will take care of for that. And that's about it. I think the reason people like to invest with us is that it allows us to be area agnostic. What I mean by that is we don't have a financial vested interest in any property or any market. It doesn't matter to us where you buy. We don't own the property, so we don't have that vested interest in it. I work for you to make the sense of the market that makes most sense for you. So I don't have to push properties in Kansas City. If that's all I had, then maybe I would say, oh yeah, Kansas City is the best. And you would say, hey, Melissa, where do I buy a property? And I would say, well, Kansas City, but we don't have to do that. We literally have, the research and the numbers. We tell you what areas are working best and what kind of feedback we're getting from our clients based on those areas. And we make recommendations to you. Because of that, a lot of people really like dealing with us because it allows us to be honest and not biased. And we can look at your overall investment plan and make recommendations like that. Okay. So here we go. Here's all the things that I just talked about. Research. We've got local partners. The prices are set. First come, first serve. Newly renovated, no commissions, and we are market agnostic. Alrighty. Okay. A little bit about me. Who am I? All right. I've been involved with real estate pretty much my entire life. I did take a detour, and I am an entrepreneur, and I started a business, sold that business about 2010, 2012. Currently, I'm a full-time real estate professional status per my taxes, which is really exciting. We can talk about that later. That just basically means that I have the required IRS hours dealing with real estate transactions for my own portfolio and helping others. I have my own portfolio of properties that I hold. I've wholesaled, I've flipped. I am constantly building my own portfolio for my own retirement and real estate planning. I have been doing short-term rentals the last couple of years. That's really exciting. It's a little bit more hands-on, not as passive as the turnkey. Turnkey truly is the easiest and the most passive, and it's kind of a no-brainer. So I grab up those as I can as well. So now you know a little bit about me. So now that you know, the biggest thing here is that we walk the talk at Norada. We are all investors, and that's really important to us, that we are sharing from our own experience as we grow our portfolios, and of course through our clients that are doing that. Okay, so now you're wondering, what is the next step? So if you listen to any of our podcasts with Marco, he talks a lot about investment counselors. That's what I am. I basically help you through this process, and I am really your wingman. Think of me like that. I help make the process as smooth as possible. We're a small team. We're very hands-on. We do a lot of hand-holding. We've helped thousands of investors over the last 20 years. We're a pretty well-oiled machine. I know it's new to you, but it's not new to me. So I'm here to help you from start to finish. Even after closing, I'm still here to help you or give you advice as you grow your portfolio. And that is really what this is all about. Everyone wants to grow their portfolio to a certain size. Nobody says, "Hey, I want to buy one property and that's it." So I'm here to make this all happen for you. And along with the teams that we work with our great partners, we all want you to succeed. When you succeed, we succeed, and we all succeed together. As cheesy as that sounds, that really is truly how we've been in business for over 20 years. Alrighty. So here we go. The first steps are really selecting a market. There are a lot of markets out there. It can be really confusing, especially when you look at the fact that we're in anywhere from 10 to 15 different markets right now. Our priority and time is spent researching and analyzing the markets. Okay. We find that secondary and tertiary markets yield the best returns for our investors, but we have to break it down even further. Let's talk about cash on cash return. Okay. This is a really important number to look at. This is what is going to separate a market in Alabama, say, from a market in California. Most likely in California, you're not going to get a cash on cash return that is anywhere decent. So let's say you bought a property for $100,000. You put 20% down. That's standard right now. That's about $20,000 that you put down. So let's add some closing costs. Let's just say $3,000 in closing costs. You just bought a property for under $25,000 all in. Now what we're going to do is we're going to divide the net return. So the income, the profit on that property, we're going to divide that by that $23,000 that you put down. Now remember, this is your money. You put that $23,000 down. We want to know how hard that money is working for you. Now the bank is financing 80%. At this point, we're not going to look at what the entire ROI of the property is. We're just going to look at your cash on cash return. So when we divide that $23,000 and we divide it by the return of that property, that is your cash on cash return. That number is so important because that's truly how we're going to be able to compare property to property, and you know how hard your money is working for you. If you're going to leave that money in the bank account, it's going to be earning what? 0.001%. It's not going to be earning much. So now you can look at a property and go, wow, this property is earning, 7%, 8%, 10%, whatever it is. That's a lot better than sitting there in the bank. And of course, many other reasons to invest in real estate that we'll kind of cover a little bit. And especially if you're using a lender and you are financing this property, you're going to have great cash flow, and it's really hard to screw this up. Now that's something that Norada looks at extensively. That's something that's going to eliminate most of the coastal areas of the United States. Some of the places like in Florida and the Gulf are going to be okay. We can still cash flow there, but basically knock out the entire Pacific coast, all the Northeast. They just don't have high enough rents to justify the amount of money you're going to have to put down. So we don't focus on those areas. The second thing we need to do is have stable versus volatile markets, right? All these stories from pre-recession where the buying real estate got kind of crazy. Near me, it was in Marietta, California. It was a big thing around here. It's 45 minutes from Orange County. You could get these huge houses for really cheap. People were mortgaging themselves to the hilt. They were convincing family and friends to mortgage themselves. And they thought that they were geniuses there for a while. But a lot of those people that bought those properties ended up in bankruptcy, had to short sell those properties. Because we all know what happened in California as we dipped into 2007, 2008. Real estate dropped almost 50%. Now, it's a volatile situation because people were overpaying for properties where the rent didn't make sense. They were not renting for high enough. And so then what happened was when the market dipped down, the values were gone in the properties. And so investors couldn't get out of them. So, it's not a good recipe for long-term investing when you're just relying on hedging all your bets on inflation. You need to invest in markets that are not a roller coaster. So we definitely tend to stay towards more linear markets that cash flow so you can stay steady. Now, as long as you're using the right kind of financing, you pay your mortgage, you collect your rents, then you're going to be in this kind of tortoise and hare proposition. You're the tortoise and you're going to come out ahead. Now, number 3, Here's another thing that knocks out a lot of the markets throughout the US, especially through the Rust Belt, upstate New York. They need to be landlord friendly. Okay. The laws need to be favored for the landlords, which is you, especially eviction laws. And there's some metros where they're not landlord friendly. If you're listening to this and you're from New England or you're from the Bay Area, Los Angeles, you're nodding your head, right? We all like to joke that if you have a property in San Francisco and your tenant doesn't pay their rent, they're going to live there forever and you're never going to get rid of them. And guess what? You still have to pay the mortgage. Okay. So markets like Alabama, Texas, Tennessee, Indiana, you're looking at 30 to 45 days, and the systems in the court are going to favor landlords. And they're going to basically say, hey, Mr. Tenant, you didn't pay your rent. You have to pay your rent. And they're going to go, sorry, I lost my job. And they're going to say, sorry, too bad, time to get out. That's usually the way that they view it. So we don't want you hung up on a tenant that's not paying rent and getting stuck around carrying this mortgage for 8 months while the eviction works its way through the courts. We want it to be over with. Let's tear that Band-Aid off. Okay. So landlord-friendly states. Last and finally, number 4, these markets need to be diverse. And what I mean by that, I mean economically diverse, job diverse. They need to have a growing and stable economy with a diverse market trend or, diverse markets. There's some really good markets out there and at first glance. But what if they have an industry that suffers? You don't want a boom and bust like the old cowboy movies where the towns became ghost towns after the gold rush. I mean, there's nothing wrong with riding a boom if you can forecast it. But when it busts, you're really going to wish you hadn't done it. So we like places that have transportation, manufacturing, tech, medical, education, et cetera, et cetera. Lots of different industries that help fuel the economy. So you're guaranteed to always find a tenant for your properties. Okay. So if a market meets that criteria we just discussed, then we're willing to consider it, which leads us to our market selection. So Norada, we're in about, anywhere from 15 to 18 markets or so. And then what we're going to do is we're going to funnel them down into 3 categories for you to strategize better. Now, this is not an exact science. There are some generalities here, but it's going to take a lot of the markets off the table so that you don't have to wonder about things. So this is where I'm going to be helping you out to determine what strategy works best for you. Okay. Now, keep in mind that all of our markets cash flow. Some just cash flow better than others, and some have more growth than others. These are all good strategies. There is not one that's better than the other. But the thing is that they have a few things in common. Okay. They all have cash flow. After all expenses are paid, after mortgage, taxes, insurance, property management, etc., you are left with positive cash flow each month. Then you can determine how much you want to put aside for reserves. So since each market fits into one of our funnels, this is where I'd like to start. Let's focus on strategy first. I like to ask my investors to think about what is most important to you. Generally speaking, you can't have it all. So if we break it down to your main priority, then it's a little bit easier to get started. Also, the other thing that I will say, budget also comes into play here. And we'll talk about that and explain what I mean here. Cash flow. Okay. What is a cash flow strategy? These are markets that cash flow at the highest. Generally, you get the most bang for your buck. Properties are a little bit more affordable. Entry point can be as low as $100,000 and generally goes to about $140,000 or so to be in a good area with good rental demand. These are a little bit more linear markets, meaning they don't have this big a swing. They're a little bit slow and steady. The markets don't go too fast. It just doesn't happen here. These are not stagnant markets. These are markets that have jobs. They're just a little bit, slow, more tortoise rather than the hare type markets. Okay. They usually don't go up a lot in value, but they don't go down much in value either. I really don't think or worry about what the market is doing. You just kind of have expectations that this is going to be a long-term investment. You buy it, you set it, you forget it kind of a situation. You just lay back and collect those rent checks and just cash flow this baby for the long run. Okay. An example would be Alabama, where the property taxes are the second lowest in the country. Little Rock, Ohio, Memphis, these are just to name a few. You'll get higher cash flow each year with rental increases as well. But remember, in markets that are a little bit more linear like these, you're not going to see rental increases as high. So you're going to see, if the market is growing on average, let's say 3 to 4% annually, maybe we will see rental increases around 2% annually. It really just depends on the property itself. But you can expect small increases yearly. So every year that you own the property, it's actually going up in value just with cash flow alone because of those rental increases. Okay. Growth markets. These are also cash flow markets. But investors who like this type of strategy want a little bit more action. They don't want to sit back and wait for long-term appreciation. They want some growth happening now. You do have to give up a little bit of your cash flow in these markets when you're comparing the pro formas. It won't be as sexy as, let's say, Memphis, where the cash flow number is going to look really good. You do have to give up a little something. You can't have it all. The price point is going to be a little bit higher. These markets are growing and the prices continue to go. So, a budget might be around $200,000 to $300,000 in a market like a new construction in Florida. Okay. We are focusing mostly on new construction because when you don't have a lot of repairs or expenditures, your cash flow is going to be a little bit higher. So the math makes a little bit sense. Okay. So with high appreciation, you also get high rental increases. So you can expect the value of your property to cash flow much higher year after year. So year one, the property might be cash flowing, I don't know, I'm just going to throw out a number, let's say 3 or 4%. By year 5 or 6, that property might be cash flowing at 8% or 9%. Okay. So, and that's because of the rental increases. As a market appreciates more, so do the rental increases. Examples of these markets would be Florida, North Carolina, Texas. Florida, for example, has a lot of tech, medical, a lot of jobs right now that are driving the growth. The largest inbound migration in the country is Florida, including those baby boomers that are driving the jobs, millennials, tech. There's a shortage of housing, so rental demand is always going to be pretty high right there. Okay, lastly, we have the hybrid markets. This is really for the investor who wants a little bit of both. They want to go the middle route. They want a little bit of growth. They want a little bit of cash flow, something in the middle. Okay. A good price point would be maybe between 150 to 190 for a property. Good examples would be Kansas City, Indianapolis, Pennsylvania, Chicago. You're going to get a little bit more cash flow than, let's say, Florida, but you also don't have to pay as much for it. So your down payments are going to be a little bit less. So it's right there in the middle. You can also expect the rental increases to be in the middle of the two markets. So now you can really think about this, which strategy fits you most. And then when we talk, we can have a deeper conversation about the markets and what's actually available and the highlights of each market, etc. Okay, there are still a couple of other factors that we have not talked about that I'd like to dive into really quickly. Neighborhood grade. Okay, I like to compare neighborhood grade a little bit Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Okay, these are general assessments. Neighborhood grades can be very subjective to a personal opinion based on the experience that you know. One person might call a neighborhood a B, another one could call it a D, depending on where you're coming from and what you're used to. So there's a lot of confusion with this. We do grade our properties a little bit differently. Since we are unbiased in our markets, we try to be unbiased in the neighborhood grades. So we use third-party data sources that give us ownership percentages in each of the neighborhoods. That way we can be a little bit unbiased and we can see, how much of the neighborhood is owner occupied, how much of the neighborhood is renters. Okay. We also add in, a little bit less crime, all that kind of stuff kind of goes into play, and we do kind of run these for you. But, sometimes you do hear people, kind of comparing the ABC grades, and, really one of the things that I like to look at is the rental price. Okay. The rental price will differentiate one property to the next because that's the type of renter that you are attracting based on the budget that they have to spend. Okay. So let's take a deeper dive into this topic. Okay. I like to think about Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Okay. The A-class type property usually costs a little bit more. The returns are definitely going to be a little bit lower. Tenants are going to be a little bit more stable, but tenants don't tend to stay as long. C class is usually cheaper in cost, usually has the highest returns, but you generally have the most risk for tenant risk, but tenants do tend to stay longer on average. And then B class is just kind of right there in the middle. So most investors prefer B class neighborhoods. They tend to be more blue collar neighborhoods, less of a Section 8 influence. You have when you have less people that can afford the housing, then you're going to be in a better situation, meaning that when there's less renters in a neighborhood. Okay. You're going to run into a little bit fewer problems investing in B neighborhoods. Okay. C neighborhoods are usually lower income. There's nothing wrong with that. They definitely look better on paper, but generally that tenant risk is going to be the biggest risk that you run when you go into C class. Okay. A class, again, they are going to, have a little bit better tenant pool, but you're going to pay for it. You're going to pay a little bit more for it. A class also tends to go up in value faster and tends to have higher rental increases. C class generally don't go up in value as high, and you don't get to take advantage of as many rental increases. So, all right. So we have talked about a lot of stuff here. Okay. So the last thing that I would like to say here is just because you picked the best market, the best property, and have the best renovation, it doesn't mean that you're going to have, everything's going to go smooth and you're not going to have any problems. This is real estate. Okay. There are a lot of moving parts here, and you're going to be dealing with a lot of great people that want you to succeed, but you also have the variable of the tenant that we can't control. Your property managers do the best job that they possibly can to vet out the best quality tenant. But I just want you to know that, real estate investing, life happens. It is what it is when you have a tenant in place, and we're hedging all the risks we possibly can. If things go perfect for you, amazing. But we do have to be a little bit realistic. Okay, now let's get down to the money. Okay. It always comes down to Mr. Green, and you probably have questions about this. There are different types of financing when it comes to investing in turnkey properties. The number one type that most people use is conventional financing. We call these Fannie Mae loans. And the typical terms that you get these for are, 30-year fixed loans, and you're putting about 20 or 25% down. We have some fantastic lenders to recommend to you. The lenders we recommend are licensed in all of our markets, work exclusively with investors, and of course have great rates. Okay. By the way, multifamily is about 25% down. So conventional loans, like I said, are 20 to 25% down. You would expect to put, closing costs anywhere from 3 to 5% down. I generally tell people when you buy a turnkey property through Norada, you should have, $25,000 to $35,000 ready to go. Granted, you can go in for more, but that's probably, going to be the floor that we've got here. And then, you need to make sure you've got enough money reserves in the bank account. Your lenders will require a little bit of reserves as well. Okay. Reserves are great. You have a little bit of money in the bank for future emergencies or unforeseen maintenance expenses. Sometimes things don't go exactly to plan, like I said earlier. So you just want to make sure you are covered and have a little bit of extra money put aside. Okay. So Fannie Mae loans, they can lock you into a 30-year fixed loan. Non-owner occupied properties, which means that you've got a renter in there. It's not you. They have the best rates, lowest down payment, easy to get, and they qualify you with your credit. Okay. So if you see a commercial on TV from Quicken Loans and they're saying, hey, we can get you X percentage, that is a owner occupied property. Okay. So you're probably going to pay on an investment property at least 1 point higher than that. So when you see your bank advertising, whatever the rate is, know that owner occupied is going to be a little bit cheaper. Non-owner occupied, you're going to pay a little bit more. Okay. We have a few lenders that we work with that do an absolute amazing job. If you want to use your own lender, you can do that, but there are a few things that you need to watch out for. Okay. First thing you want to do is look for somebody that actually knows what they're doing. The lenders that we work with are very experienced. We've done thousands of closing with them. A lot of lenders, kind of get to underwriting and they fall apart. They thought they could do it and they can't, which just wasted a lot of time for you. And you're probably going to lose that property now because you're not going to be able to close on it. In their eagerness to get the business, they overpromise and they tell you, yep, we do investment properties all the time. And it's very common practice for us to do it. It shouldn't be a problem. Okay. That is generally a red flag, especially if you're using with the bigger banks. So we definitely want to make sure we're actually truly working with a lender that for a fact does investment properties often. And the other thing is they need to be licensed in the right state. Okay. If you live in San Francisco and you've got a really great loan officer at the credit union and you go in there and say, hey, I want to buy a property in Memphis, Tennessee, they're going to say, well, either I can't do that, or they're going to refer you to somebody, some random person that you don't know that works for a branch of that bank in Memphis, Tennessee, that may or may not know what they're doing. Okay. So, one thing to know is we do not receive any compensation for the lenders that we're recommending. By the way, we can't. We are not licensed lenders, so that's actually illegal. We're just referring you to lenders as a matter of convenience because they're actually amazing and they're phenomenal. So I would love to recommend some lenders to you. I'm going to put you in touch with them, and they're going to work with you to answer all of your questions on the lending side. Make sure you get qualified. Whichever lender you decide to go with, I send many recommendations. Go with the warm and fuzzy one. Their rates are all going to be very, very similar. At the end of the day, they're giving you the same product, a 30-year fixed rate, amortized loan. Just pick one of them. Now, our lenders are licensed in all of the markets, so you're good to go with them. All right, so we talked about financing. Let's go into the home stretch here. We're talking about a lot of really good info, but a lot of investors still want to know what's going to happen next. Okay. The first thing you need to do is get in touch with me. So make an appointment on my calendar. If you don't have the link, ask me for that link again so that I can get that to you. We're going to set up a time. We're going to pick a time based on the time zone that you're in. I'm coordinating with a lot of people, so working with my calendar really, really helps me. We're going to introduce you to the lenders. You're going to give them a call. They're going to get you pre-approved. Amazing. Okay. They're going to look at your credit. They're going to look at your down payments, get your pre-approval, and then we're going to decide on the market. Okay. So now we're going to discuss the things like the type of neighborhood, what's really important to you. Okay. Then we're going to go shopping for a property. This is very exciting because I will handpick and recommend properties to you based on everything that we talk about. So if you're concerned about, neighborhood grade, or you're concerned about a specific markets, we're going to talk about all of that. Okay. Then once we find a property, I'm going to help you through it all. Myself and my team, we've got transaction coordinators in place. Every single property has a title and escrow company in place locally that they're going to run all that stuff for you like a normal real estate transaction. I'm going to help you get inspections done. We've got third-party inspectors to recommend to you. Their job is to find everything wrong with the property. Even though the property is newly renovated, there's always going to be things to find. That is their job, is to find everything wrong. We just need to look at the red flags. If there's anything that would cause the house harm, if there's any safety issues, anything that caused the tenant harm, then we are going to request those repairs and go from there. Okay. So any repairs that you request, the expectation is our local team and our contractor is going to pay for them. You are not. Okay. If for some reason there's a big red flag and you're like, hey, I'm tapping out, I don't want this property, you can back out and get your earnest money back. Okay. But I'm telling you, if there's a problem that is that big that you want to cancel, any other investor is going to want to cancel. That item is going to have to be addressed. So it doesn't mean you have to walk away from the property. Okay. Then your lender is going to order the appraisal. Make sure it appraises properly for market value. Property managers are in place, ready to go. So we're going to introduce you to the property manager, make sure they've got your account set up, make sure any questions you have are answered, and then we're going to get ready for closing. Okay. For closing, it's super easy. The notary comes to you. They can come to your house. They can come to your workplace, whatever you want. It's super easy. And that's how you do it. That's how you buy a turnkey property with us. So congratulations, you are ready to go. Okay. So there you have it, you guys. Again, set up a link with me or set up a call with me with that link that I've got, and let's get started. I am excited to work with you. Talk to you soon. Bye.